हरिः ॐ शं नो मित्रस्यं वरुणः शं नो भवत्वर्यमा शं न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शं नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म विदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Now we are going to the subject clockwise and anti-clockwise directions, and this is lessons 141 to 143, and so 141 and 142. Okay, anti-clockwise directions and clockwise directions. Now we are going to understand what are clockwise and anti-clockwise directions. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. If you go like this in this order, this is a clockwise direction. Generally in predictive astrology, we use only clockwise direction. If the ascendant or the first house is Leo, the second house will be Virgo. Even in progression calculations also, we calculate in the clockwise direction. This is what we have to understand in the beginning. Anti-clockwise direction means in the opposite order. That is Aries, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Libra, like this. This is called the anti-clockwise directions. We will not use the anti-clockwise direction in predictive astrology. But here we have to understand one important point. There are a lot of styles of charts or horoscopes that we follow. If you see the horoscopes, in some countries they follow the wheels, and in some countries they follow the square, like that. This is what I am explaining here. The difference is the style of chart, not calculations. So why I am explaining here means, even in India, in some places they erect a chart, they draw a chart, placing Aries, and they come back. Then Aries, and then Taurus, they will put Taurus, but in the opposite direction. In the square chart, if you go to the South India, in the square chart they put Aries and then Taurus and Gemini in the clockwise direction. In some places, when they erect and when they draw a chart, horoscope, even in India also, they will put Aries first, and then they come back, and the next is in the other direction, they put Taurus. Here the order is same: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and this is same. There is no difference in it, but they place the signs in the other direction. This is only the difference in the style of the charts, not in the reverse order. You have to remember this. I hope that you understand what I am telling. And even in the wheel also you find different placements. The sign and the planets are the same, but they draw in a different order. This is the difference in the style of the chart, not in the calculations. This you have to understand very clearly. The difference is the style of chart, not calculations. We should remember that. Even in India, in some areas, they use different styles of charts. They place the signs in anti-clockwise direction in some places, in clockwise direction in some other places. It has nothing to do with the reversed wheel. You have to understand that. We are going to the reversed wheel. That is the most important and central point of spiritual astrology. And these calculations is nothing to do with the reversed wheel. We have to remember that. It is a must. Understand here the difference is the style only, not the calculations. It is very important. Master E.K. explains later how Alice Bailey misunderstood this concept and made a mistake in esoteric astrology. For the first time, Master explained how Alice Bailey did a mistake by misunderstanding the thing what I explained to you before. If you read esoteric astrology, what you find, she explains Aries, then she explained Pisces, and then come to Aquarius, and then she explains about this. In the science division, I am telling you. In the 12 signs, she puts, then after Aquarius, Capricorn, after Capricorn, she explains about Sagittarius, like that. Generally, what people think, so she is explaining the reverse order. It is not the reverse order. She misunderstood the different styles of different countries, and then that's why she thought Aries, Pisces, like that. This is what Master explained. He explains in his next lesson. We are not finding fault with Alice Abeli. She is not an astrologer. It is a misunderstanding of the styles of the horoscopes. That's it. First of all, we have to understand one important thing here. Zodiac is different from the clock. Here, Master is very clear in explaining about few things here in this lecture. We should follow very carefully. First of all, we have to understand one important thing. Zodiac is different from the clock. We should have an idea where the zodiac is going and from which direction towards which direction it is moving. Suppose we stand on the earth. Where can we locate the zodiac? Zodiac is not relative. Houses are relative from the place where we stand, but the signs are not relative. So here Master is explaining about two sets of zodiacs. Before going into zodiacs, let us understand the three categories of human beings once again. So here he is explaining about two sets of zodiacs. Before that, he wanted to explain about the three categories of human beings once again. You understand these three categories is very, very important in this subject. A lot of explanations were given even from the law in the first level. Once again, let us understand the categories of human beings. Already we explained in the first level about the three categories. We explained a lot of things in the second level also, in the previous lessons. But again, we are going to give the explanations once again in the next dimension. In the average human being, the planets travels from Aries to Taurus to Gemini and so on. Even the ascendant also travels in the same direction. Suppose if one person from Aries, born in Aries, as an ascendant first degree, approximately after 30 years of progression, it is only an approximate calculation, he will be in a Taurus ascendant. Ascendant means the first house. This you understand very well. It is an ordinary person's horoscope. Ordinary persons means someone who is living in individual and personality levels. So in ordinary human being, although it is the planets and signs in the clockwise direction. If somebody born in Aries ascendant, for example, 1 degree is equal to 1 year in the progression chart. That is what I explained in the first level also, itself. In general, Sun travels 1 degree 1 year. Ascendant travels 1 degree 1 year. It is as far as ascendant is concerned, it is approximate. Depend upon where we are born, in which latitude and which longitude. There is no change in the sun's direction, sun's movement, but ascendant and other houses, it will vary from the place, depend upon the place where we are born. Okay, so what happens approximately when somebody born in Aries after 30, in the first degree, after 30 years approximately, the ascendant changes into Taurus. After 30 degrees, ascendant changes into Gemini, like that. It is in the case of the ordinary human beings. Who are the ordinary human beings? Ordinary human beings means we are living in the individual and personality levels. But since the equinox travel in an anti-clockwise direction, the planets move from constellation Aries to Pisces and then to Aquarius. Here we must bear in mind that the constellation Aries has nothing to do with the sign Aries. This is a very important thing we have to understand. Equinoxes travels all the time in the anti-clockwise direction. That means they travel from Aries to Pisces and Pisces to Aquarius, like that. Planets also travels like that according to equinoxes direction. Aries to Pisces and Pisces then to Aquarius. Then we must bear in mind that constellation Aries has nothing to do with the sign Aries. There are two sets of zodiacs. So here, this is very important. You have to remember this very carefully. Try to understand this very carefully. Constellation Aries is different from zodiac Aries, right? Here we must bear in mind that the constellation Aries has nothing to do with sign Aries. So somebody is born between March 21st and April 20th, 21st. Generally we call him, his sun is in Aries, he is Aryan. This is a zodiac, this is the Aries in the 12 months in our zodiac. But constellation Aries is in the sky. Constellation means a group of stars in the sky. It is called the constellation Aries. That is different. These constellations are far away from even from our sun also. That constellation Aries is different from the Aries what we call generally in our horoscope. This is Master explaining here. You please keep it in mind. There are two sets of zodiacs. One is a constellation zodiac and other is the tropical zodiac. We follow the tropical zodiac. In India, some people follow sidereal zodiac. So we are not bothered about that part of astrology now. Constellation zodiacs deal with the fixed stars. Constellation zodiacs deals with the fixed stars. For example, there are stars in the sky which are called Alpha Arcturus, Beta Arcturus, Pleiades, Aldebaran, etc. These stars are seen as constellations from our earth and they are called by the 12 names of Aries constellation, Taurus constellation, etc. When we look into the sky, you see the cluster of stars, group of stars, as constellation in the shape of a Aries, in the shape of a ram, they call it Aries. When they look at the group of the stars in the form of a Taurus, the bull, they call Taurus constellation. If they find the group of stars in the shape of the tail of a Leo, and they call it a constellation Leo. Those are called the constellations, right? This is what Master is explaining here. These stars are seen as constellations from our earth and they are called by the 12 names of Aries constellation, Taurus constellation, etc. Then these astronomically the constellations are far distance from our sun itself. Right? When the constellations are so far away, how do the 12 signs and constellations can influence humans? So this is a general question by all the scientists who don't believe astrology. These constellations, Aries and Taurus, they are very far away. Even the light comes from there to the earth, how many years it will take. Then how they will influence a human being and his attitude and his life? This is the question of so many scientists. Here Master is giving an example. In our horoscope, we are dealing with the 12 signs of our zodiac in our tropical astrology. The 12 signs, what we call in the zodiac, are entirely different from the constellations, Aries and Taurus, etc. The signs and the signs influences are from our zodiacal signs. Lot of difference is there. And I will give a separate lecture and what is the difference between these 12 signs, how these 12 signs in our horoscope arranged. And what is the difference between the constellation zodiac and this zodiac and constellation signs and these 12 signs. What is equinoxes? Why equinoxes travel in the opposite direction, anti-clockwise direction, all these things. I will record a small lecture. It is something dealing with, something deals with astronomy. And we need not go deep into astronomy, but we should, if you know the fundamentals of astronomy, it is enough. I will record a lecture again. Don't be confused here. This is the question of many people. Here we have to understand that the 12 constellations in the sky are different from our signs in the tropical zodiac. We have our equinoxes running in the opposite directions. Some time ago, when the equinoxes were opposite to the Aries constellation, it is called the Aryan period of human beings. Some time ago, when the equinoxes is opposite to the Aryan Aries, it is called Aryan period, Aryan age. When the equinoxes is in opposite to the passing through the sign Pisces, it is traveling in the opposite direction. It is called the Piscean period. Now the equinoxes, and they are traveling through the opposite to the what is that Aquarian. It is called the Aquarian period. We call it Aquarian age. It is approximately 2000 years, not exactly, approximately it will take approximately 2000 years. Master explain about these periods and calculations when we enter into Aquarian age. After Aryan period, Pisces period, and after that Aquarian period or Aquarian age. It is in the anti-clockwise direction. By the time the master was giving this lecture, he said that it was in the third degree of Aquarius. That we are in the third degree of Aquarius when we follow the anti-clockwise direction of the equinoxes. Even now it is third degree, but every degree, if I remember well, it takes 75 years, something like that. To pass 1 degree in the equinoxes passes 1 degree in one sign. If I remember well, it will take 75 years. 75 years into 30 degrees. Then you will find the age of that particular sign period. The equinoxes travel in an anti-clockwise direction, but the planets and the ascendants of human beings travel clockwise. This is the first proposition. We are dealing with the different categories of human beings here. Let us understand how the planets work in the horoscopes of the people who are in different stages of evolution. It will be explained in the next lecture. So now we are going to the 3 categories of the human beings. In the ordinary human beings, what I explained to you, those who are dwelling in the individual and personality level, the planets simply they travel in the anti-clockwise directions. In the clockwise directions, and we can give predictions to certain degree of clarity and certainty when people are living in the personality and individual levels. People who are living in the spiritual life and traveling into the spiritual life, traveling with the spiritual life, and people who are realized souls. The 3 categories that Master will explain in the next lesson. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.